Good afternoon, ladies and menfolk. Welcome to episode 40 of Word Ninjas Live. We're coming to you today with plushies, because it's episode 40. We can do what we want. And I am your instigator of literary insanity, Charles, and joining me today is my co-host, Will.
Hello.
And his fox.
I'm over here somewhere.
And Ed is lurking off to the side, probably doing something diabolical.
As usual.
It may most likely involve alchemy.
Probably.
The Philosopher's Stone is not required.
I would hope not. That would be messy. The rest of our crew are off doing other diabolical machinations during this nice weather. Either that or they have been completely destroyed by all of the impending pollen of doom. Or some combination thereof. It's spring. That's how it goes. But despite that, we are still going to have an episode before our week off. Because next weekend is Easter, and I don't want to have a show. So we're going to have a show this week. And that means talking points. We actually have some this week.
We actually have 3 this week.
Yay. Alright, talkie point number 1 for episode 40 is, for those of us with specific or personified muse or muses, how did we come about finding them, or how did they find us? Basically, why do we have the muses that we do? And for those of you watching, post in the YouTube comments, what is or are your muses, and how did you find them? While we ramble on.
I'm trying to get my computer.
Try to explain the insanity in our own minds.
I
said try to explain.
No guarantees.
Succeed.
Would you like to kick this one off, or shall I? Or shall we flip a coin?
We flip a 6-sided die.
If you have one handy.
1 through 6 you go. 7 through 12.
Wait a minute.
I don't mind going first for this one. Let's see. I could technically go on for most of the characters from My Roommate's a Stripper, but I think I'm going to go to the big 2, Aiden and Maxine. And I am lumping them together because they came into creation basically at the same time. I came up with the idea for them while bored in one of my classes in college, which happened a lot in college. And at the time I created these 2 unnamed characters, a male fox and a female skunk. And the male fox is basically supposed to be questioning his sexuality, while the female skunk was quite comfortable with her sexuality and having sex with people she considered friends, and they were living together in an apartment for unspecified reasons. And it was basically just a silly excuse to write smut while I was bored in class. But eventually I started working out a plot around them, developing their characters, their backgrounds, and Max and Aiden were born. And their personalities became pretty rich, pretty solid, and now I'm stuck with them. And they like to remind me of this on a daily basis in my mind.
There's no escape.
There is no escape, so while several of the characters in Roommate do have some decent voices that crop up in my head from time to time, Aiden and especially Max are the 2 big ones. They like to pop up for a wide variety of reasons. And they have developed into solid characters with excuse me, pretty serious backgrounds and personalities. All because I was bored in class. Excuse me.
Yes.
fell. Come back up, little fox. Come here. Stay on my shoulder. Stay. Sit. Behave. Another one I pointed out in the show notes is Darkholm. The user handle I go by. It's originally a Muse character. Not currently actively using him for anything, but he's been around since my days of playing Vanilla EverQuest. Which,
Wow.
if you're familiar with Vanilla EverQuest, you know that that was a long time ago. It's like, what? Mid-1990s, I think?
Somewhere around then.
Somewhere around there. Yeah, I created a human paladin, and I named him Darkholm. Since then, I basically took the name with me and would use it on various internet places whenever, especially if there was a fantasy setting that I could rely on, and the character I created would be named Darkholm. Took on a wide variety of different races and classes and personalities and whatnot. I think the biggest use of him was during my role-playing days on Gaia Online, where he was a fallen angel of sorts, where I went after kind of an anti-hero personality. But right now he's just an internet handle name, but the Muse is still there somewhere, waiting for his opportunity to properly be released. These days I don't usually actually use him. I never use the name Darkholm in World of Warcraft, and I don't think I'm going to in playing Elder Scrolls Online. But should a proper situation come up, I'll probably get used again. Either that, or it'll just be my internet handle from now on. Who knows? And that's pretty much all I've got for Muses. Like I said, I could go on potentially for other characters from my roommate's a stripper, but I don't think it's that necessary, as they're not that active in my mind as
They're
Max
more
did.
inspirations rather than full fleshed out muses at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, they crop up now and then more to tell me about themselves than they do to actually affect my life. So, and I guess it is what it is.
Well, as for Melon Cow, myself, my main muse and kind of my online persona that I've had for a good while now is Silver Wolf, sometimes with 85 appended to it. But Silver Wolf is, by definition, a wolf who just happens to be silver in color. Silver has regularly been personified, at least to me, as just a little wolf pup. Rarely is it an adult, because it never acts like one. So, but Silver provides me with ideas, helps tie plot strings together sometimes. Usually doesn't mind too much when I get distracted by shiny baubles. Half the time, Silver gets distracted by shiny baubles, so we're even. But Silver has also been responsible for the whole slash and burn multiverse, and for regularly poking me to actually get back to that at some point, which I still need to do one of these years. If I ever do finish a fantasy series, it is going to be that one. Or so help me. Yeah, I've had Silver around for as long as I can remember. And thankfully, Silver tends to be pretty useful with idea gathering and eureka moments when I'm trying to figure out how to tie various characters or plot strings together. Actually, Silver gave me the idea for the Slash and Burn universe, again, to finally figure out how do I tie the 4 different ideas I have together. And it was one of those moments where I actually had to stop for like a good 5 minutes and basically think, well, crap, now I have to write it that way. How can I not write it this way? Never mind that if I write it that way, if people actually read it, it's going to be one of those series where the final book people are going to throw against the wall in anger. Because I am a horrible, horrible person to my characters. And some newer muses that I've acquired, I would say through no fault of my own, but it is kind of my own doing. I've had Madara from Naruto kind of just shoved upon me, because that was the name I was given for the Konoha Corner podcast. Mainly because I do tend to work in the background and have a lot of long-term behind-the-scenes diabolical machinations that sometimes work, sometimes don't. So that, by a stretch, kind of worked, although I don't really like the whole concept of being an evil douche.
I'm trying to. My computer keeps freezing.
And the latest one I've been given is none other than Makarov from the Fairy Tale universe, because that's the name I was given for the Fairy Tale podcast. That one makes a little more sense than Madara, because I am slowly becoming a guild master in that I'm maintaining and running an ever-growing community of similar-minded crazy people. Unfortunately, I don't have Makarov's ability to grow into a giant or use stuff like fairy law and just destroy all my enemies, which would be very useful. Although, considering that that persona theoretically runs an entire guild that manages to sustain itself financially is a little encouraging. Because it would be nice to one of these years make this a full-time job. Although I'd prefer to do that as myself, not as Makarov, or as Melon Cow, or as a fox, or a very creepy, psychotic-looking pear.
It could be the mascot.
Oh dear. I don't
Can
know.
people hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Good.
I don't know. That pear looks a little too hungry, and it's kind of staring at Melon Cow. I'm a little worried.
Though it has no eyes.
Hey, I have the glutton.
But I can see everything.
But yeah, those are the main three. I mean, Silver is the one that has just always been around. The other two have kind of just appeared and are tagging along. But Silver definitely gets a lot more say and a lot more notice than the other two. And Melon Cow is just around. Same with Puppy Cow. So would the talking carnivorous pair like to join in on talkie point number 1?
Let's see. Well, for everything I do, I've never had a personified muse per se. My personal muse is basically an offshoot of me and all my various emotions that I go through in a given day, which explains how much or how little I get done creatively. And if you haven't noticed the last couple of months, very little has gotten done, so. I wish I had a better answer than that, but my muse wakes up whenever my mood changes. My mood is positive or anything catches my attention, and my attention span can last more than 30 seconds.
Mm.
To be fair, this has not been an easy year on any of us. So,
Yeah.
Nope, it's not been an easy few years, for a couple of years for me. So
yeah, you started off innocent enough getting out of college, and then all of a sudden you just turned into a pear.
apparently so.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Not sorry. But yeah, life's kind of gotten in the way, and for the last couple of years, and so I'm trying to balance that. My full-time job, trying to make extra money so Sally Mae won't further ruin my credit, and trying not to completely turn into a carnivorous fruit. Although I'm kind of too late for that.
Would Ed like to join in the conversation?
I'm here, I might as well. I'm the insane one, I think.
Oh, compared to the rest of us, please.
My boys are like living entities in my head. They don't even know how to describe them sometimes. But right now, I work with quite the menagerie of FMA characters. Um, of course, it started with Ed. He is the loudest little shit in my head because that's the only word for him. As you can see, oh boy, I love him to death. Um, but I work a lot now with. Actually, Roy has become quite the loud voice in my head. And I also work with Alphonse, Hughes, and Havoc. And for me, picking them up, a lot of it was RP necessity because people were complaining that, oh, so and so, you can't find so and so, or there's not many portrayals of, or I want to play it this way, and nobody played it that way. So I'm like, okay, I'll do it. I am a glutton for punishment. But they've all kind of taken root in there, and I have so much fun writing fan fiction for them and RPing them, and each one of them has different things about me that I can usually use. So I am also the one that has the guilty deal of using my muses to express myself when I'm having trouble with emotions or thoughts, or I make them go through it so I can deal with it. But they're my babies, and I love them, and I like to torture them, so it works.
I have a feeling that none of us are exactly nice to our characters, at
Oh,
least
no, I
not on a regular basis.
I'm nice every now and then. I give them smut and they shut up. That counts as being nice, right?
I've recently learned that while Slash is a wine snob, apparently Byrne is a bourbon snob.
Oh my.
Yeah, that could become an issue. Because while my characters have certain opinions and tastes, I don't. Or at least I'm not as picky. They can get a little cranky
Wine
sometimes.
is wine. No, it's not.
Can only imagine which part of my brain is the mead appreciator.
I
can
love
only imagine where that came from.
Muses being like, get that, get that, get this.
Oh yeah. Pistachios? No pistachios.
But I want pistachios.
It's pretty much exactly how it sounds too. But pistachios, they're just pistachios. You want the expensive pistachios. And if you try to satisfy one, the other ones crop up. But what about me?
Well, you got him that. I want this.
Pretty much.
Well, we have to feed our muses somehow. Come on. There we go. I don't have a large enough desk to do all the stuff I need to do on it.
I know those feel.
All right.
Why does it keep dinging?
Hmm?
I'm trying to figure out why I keep hearing dinging.
Do you have church bells nearby or something?
No, it's in my headphones.
The notifications for the Google Plus chat or the notification email.
Or something. Let's see. Talkie point number 2. It's National Library Week, which I completely forgot about until I started seeing notifications about it. So, what do you appreciate about libraries, librarians, and the whole being able to borrow a book for free process? Because that's pretty damn cool. I do not go to my library nearly often enough as I should, considering they have basically all the books I want to read, most of the books I could use for a lot of my diabolical machinations, and a lot of them now have cafes as well,
Ooh.
which is pretty nice.
I wish our library had that sort of thing.
And the one in town recently got a 3D printer.
Ooh, fancy.
So now we have a MakerBot in town. Although I don't really know what I would use it for. At least not yet.
Make little 3D sculpted word ninjas.
Those might hurt if I start tossing them at people, though.
Don't toss them at people.
Yes, toss them at people.
Toss them at people who aren't writing. The pain will encourage them to write.
Or else.
What else? I haven't really been to a library since I was like a teen, but I loved going to the library and finding new books to read when I was younger. And what did I write down here? What's not to like about easy access to a very large number of books under every topic and genre known to man and womankind? And melon cow kind.
And nowadays, you don't really need to shuffle through a card catalog to find stuff. They've kind of streamlined the process a bit. Although, admittedly, it was kind of fun to go through a card catalog to try and find something.
I bet there are people who don't even know how to use a card catalog anymore.
Yeah, well...
I remember I
people
once
are
had,
young
when I
enough
was
to
a
get away
kid,
with
I
it.
had an English class where we had to go to the school library and learn how to read a card catalog.
Yeah, I've since forgotten the whole logic behind the Dewey Decimal System. I knew it at one time, but
I remember learning it.
I wonder how many people actually know that there is a Dewey Decimal System.
Not enough anymore?
Hmm.
That'll be the best social experiment ever.
I
Trying to find
have
out who actually knows.
certain in my head getting pissy about that right now.
That would be an interesting reblog system on Tumblr. Reblog if you know what the Dewey Decimal System is and how to read it, and see how many notes it gets. Remember right, it wasn't that complicated to use.
It was pretty straightforward. It was just remembering which numbers signified what genre and section.
Yeah.
And then each library has their own layout accordingly.
Of course. Well, that's why you got to go through their own card catalog system.
Hmm. Although I would think it got progressively more complicated with the addition of movies, and then some of the libraries have manga now.
Yes, they
It's kind
do.
of its own little section, not
Usually
to
it's pretty
mention
weak,
graphic
but yeah,
novels.
it's there.
What was that, Ed?
Usually it's pretty weak, but yeah, it's there.
Yeah. The one in town has all the main mangas and a couple of the smaller ones, but not as many as one would like.
I wouldn't mind perusing the Brooklyn Public Library, the one on Grand Army Plaza, the like giant museum-looking one.
That one intimidates me.
We should take a trip there one of these days, because I haven't been there in ages, and I wouldn't mind going back there.
Which one is this?
The Brooklyn Public Library in Grand Army Plaza. It's humongous.
Sorry, I'm getting comments off to the side in the Skype.
Which is the library that they had in Ghostbusters?
I feel like one of us should know this.
If I were to venture a guess, it was probably the New York Public Library.
Probably.
Probably. I walk by that one often enough.
Brooklyn Public Library is like almost as big as the New York Public Library. This building is ginormous.
But not as haunted.
I wouldn't doubt that. I wouldn't be so sure about that, but because if just from looking at the outside, it looks kind of like the exterior of a museum.
Um,
Oh, here's a good picture. Let me see if I can screen share this one here.
Hey, Calvin.
Yes.
Where is that library in relation to Beercraft?
What?
One train station away.
That's not terrible.
Sounds like a good plot for starting a night of beer and books.
Of course, the danger of Beercraft is that Gorin Brothers is right next door.
Oh God. So beer, books, and hats.
Fancy hats.
Well, you need a fancy hat if you're going to be drinking beer and reading books.
Oh, hey, Bev, there's a question of does your fox have a name?
I have not named the fox, no.
Sorry, Punky, he hasn't named it.
Okay, so if
There's only one other fox that has a name.
CJ can move over to my screen, you can take a look at what the Brooklyn Public Library main library looks like.
It does look very fancy. And familiar. I may have been there before.
It's a cool place. We should take a trip.
I concur.
We also take a field trip there and record the madness.
That'd be fun.
Okay, screen share off.
To all our viewers and listeners out there, while it is still National Library Week, get thee to a book depository and go have fun. Or go give a librarian a cup of coffee or something as thanks for being awesome. And maybe take out a book or two. 'Cause why not? All right. talkie point number 3, which is really a what-if scenario. What if you were put in a position to teach, instruct, or talk on a subject of your choosing? What subject would it be and why? And unfortunately, at some point in the next few years, this is going to be an actual relevant scenario, I think, to some degree. What could go wrong?
What couldn't go wrong?
Besides everything.
To both of those scenarios. I think for me, it would be basically talking about the entire mindset of what full coverage writers is and hopes to be. The whole concept of adapting your creative style to fit in the current multitasker's world, while also adapting the world to acknowledge and support your skills. It's all well and good to kind of force our ways into the current world, but screw that. Let's change the world to suit our needs. Make them conform to us. And then trying to figure out discussion on do what interests you, what you're passionate about, and acknowledging that it is worthwhile and figuring out how to support it while also being able to make money off of it, because living is expensive.
I'd take that class.
Me too.
Well, first we have to figure out the answers to these scenarios before we can teach it.
Well, if you're the teacher, that's your job.
We're screwed. And not in the good way.
There was no dinner first.
I bet there wasn't even a coffee first.
Please, at this point, we could maybe afford a cup of tea.
Good point. Oh.
First comment that I happened to see on the YouTubes. I promise I'm here for more intelligent comments, but my first priority right now is name the fox.
Thank you, Plushy.
You have been challenged.
I have been challenged. Let me think about it. I'll get back to you before the end of the podcast.
No, it closed the show notes. I wasn't supposed to do that. Okay. Anyone else want to take this one on?
Sure. First, I have a question for you. Is this practice for the panels we may or may not be doing at Kineticon?
Actually, initially, the idea of this was not related to that. It just conveniently coincides with that.
Good answer.
It's more a matter of ongoing adventures with this group going forward, trying to figure out what would we be able to do or what would we be comfortable doing.
All right. Well, I came up with two. Both are related to writing. If I could clear my throat. First was writing creative smut. How to include sexual intercourse in your fiction and have it help develop the plot instead of writing smut for the sake of smut. That's one thing I focus pretty heavily on making sure I try to do in Roommate is while I do include the smut scenes, I don't want it just to be smut for smut's sake. I want there to actually be plot and character development that bases off of it. So while, yes, you're getting to read a little bit of hanky-panky, there's deeper development behind it so that it actually contributes to the overall story instead of just a quick, fun little fap.
There's nothing wrong with that. But...
No, there's nothing wrong with that. And if you're writing like a short little story and you just want to write smut for smut's sakes, keep it to like a short little thing. But if you're writing a whole big novel, your sex scenes should relate to the overall plot story. Otherwise, they just feel like they're fit in there because you just wanted to write smut.
It's a bad porno in print form.
Yeah, basically. And I'm not the only one that does it. I had the fortune or misfortune of reading, was it 1980, what was that book? 1982, 1985? The Big Brother book?
1984.
1984. And
Yeah.
there is actually a couple sex scenes in the book, but they are related to plot and character development, like the reasons behind why he's cheating on his wife and having sex with this woman.
Hmm.
So, yeah, you get to read him having sex, but there's more plot behind why he's having sex with this woman. So it relates to the story and actually helps tell the story. I also think it might be fun to work out if I could come up with the deeper topics for it. Non-binary genders. Describing non-binary genders in your story without being overtly obvious about it. Subtle clues that he may actually be a she or something else.
That would be interesting considering a lot of people tend to think that non-binary genders are basically the equivalent of non-Euclidean geometry.
Yeah. So I think, because I do write for some non-binary genders, and I do find a lot of the non-binary genders interesting, ways to write them without fitting them into the basic stereotypes would be a useful class. Because there's a lot of stereotypes about a lot of non-binary genders, and most of them are wrong and basically used by sitcoms as comedic points.
Hmm.
So I think it would be interesting to write about them in a more serious manner and include them properly. But that's just me.
I think Silver would be interested in such a panel because Silver is whatever gender Silver feels like being at the moment.
I know how that feels.
My OC would love that.
Oh, yeah.
The namesake that I used for myself.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have a couple in Roommate. Both Cheryl and Alice fit into the non-binary gender qualities. Differently, for different reasons. One being a hermaphrodite and the other being a male to female trans. You don't get to teach classes. You're a cat. Come here. You are the ultimate plushie, so you get to be on the podcast. Oh, come here. Come here. Living plushie.
It looks so lifelike.
Oh, you have no idea.
Hi. Say hi to the peoples. Hi, peoples. What's up?
Calvin duplicated himself by osmosis.
Oops. Not sure what happened there, but can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Can you hear me clearly?
Clear enough.
Am I coming in loud enough?
Yeah, loud enough for me with my headphone on.
I can
Okay.
hear you over the speakers.
Okay. Just checking.
And Ed can chime in, but I have a feeling that Ed would be the behind-the-scenes coordinator for a lot of these panels and topics, telling us what to do or making sure that we don't screw up too terribly.
Yeah, I'm more of a behind-the-scenes person, as you guys can probably tell. Listening to me talk on these things is painful. So me actually in front of people to teach something, not likely to happen. If I could do it, I don't know. Dark already kind of got what I wanted with the smut. And how to write it without it being stupid. You know how you go through like Archive of Your Own and you find a whole crap ton of fan fiction where people have no concept of what sex really is? I would want to help with that. but you'd have to drag me kicking and screaming first to be able to do it. I get sick in front of people. I like behind the scenes.
Maybe we can give you a Wizard of Oz setup where you can hide behind the curtain and just have a giant floating head intimidating everyone.
Giant head. I'll hide behind him.
And how about the Calvin?
Uh,
Or would you be another behind-the-scenes coordinator, making sure all the tech and sound systems worked?
I'd probably have to be a multitasker. Yes. I'd have to make sure all the tech stuff is up to par by default. But if I were to actually, excuse me, were to actually instruct or like talk on a particular subject, it would probably have to, of course, it would be something music related, no surprise there. If anything, it would probably be like how to. I thought I figured this out already. Apparently, I didn't. Oh, my idea just left me.
How to remember your ideas when they leave you.
That's actually part of it, surprisingly. Basically, it would be like how to keep ideas for music in your head in the midst of basically everyday life. Like basically things that I go through trying to remember a melody while I'm either sitting on a bus or at work or just down the street walking. I'm pretty sure there's plenty of other people that have gone through that and actively go through that. So over the years, I've come up with my little tips and tricks on how to, like, at the very least, keep enough of the idea going so that when you finally get home to like put it down, it won't completely leave you. And during that talk, I wouldn't mind hearing what other people have to say about that topic. That way I won't feel so alone about it.
I think idea retention within itself would be an interesting panel discussion for music and writing and anything else.
Music is the inspiration for writing.
And very few people tend to get their best ideas while actually sitting down ready to write it all down.
Yeah.
Usually comes out of nowhere and blindsides you while you're on the highway.
Yeah. Or when I'm driving to work. Usually when I'm driving to work, which is not a good situation. Although it's probably for the best because then I can swear really, really loudly and no one will notice.
Is this why we have recordings of you in the car?
Shush.
Fantastic recordings. I enjoyed listening to those.
Considering my
Comes at the sight of an angry CJ.
Listening to that one again, it sounded like I was really drunk too, which confused me because that was at like 5 o'clock in the morning.
You really do not like other drivers on your roads.
I never have drivers on my roads, and then all of a sudden there's like 10 of them. That was not a day to mess with me.
That was the day your USB thing broke.
Yeah, that was the SD card crash of 2013.
That was bad.
Yeah.
All kinds of bad.
I really do hope you learned from that one.
Just fair warning, there would be incoming input.
Oh my. Well, I've just tripled the foxiness of this podcast.
Oh my.
There's a lot of plushies.
Those
in the house.
foxes look pretty delicious. Mm.
Yeah, there's a lot of plushies in this house.
Melon Cow is just simply amused. And the fact that this thing mirrors my movements still confuses me to this day. There we go. Kind of.
I'm watching you too, Melon Cow.
No, Ed, you can't alchemize it into something else. That's double the Edmonds rar. Because I do have two.
So yeah, I have a feeling that eventually we're going to get to the level where we're actually going to have to pretend like we know what we're doing and talk to others like we know what we're doing and are professional.
Like possibly this July.
I don't understand this professional shit you speak of.
Calvin and I are going to have to learn it real quick considering Book Expo America's coming up.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Crap.
Yeah.
And I still have to buy an interview mic.
Once you price that out, let me know.
I'm probably going to buy a used one, just for the very fact that it's half price. And I don't care as long as it works properly.
Mm,
And we'll talk afterwards.
yeah. And for those listening and or watching, if you have any responses to the talkie points that we've done for this episode, post in the comments so we can wait for the eventual delay for you to hear this, and then for us to notice the comments, and then for us to comment. Because YouTube is slow.
We're all very professional
Yes.
as we hold up plush animals while we do this.
That's about how professional I am right now.
Upside down melon cow.
Mm.
What?
Oh. That wraps up the talkie points for this episode. I did not even notice that I didn't put down anything in for the highlights reel because professionalism. So it doesn't look like we have a book author, YouTube user, or a website highlight for this week.
Oops.
My bad.
Hmm.
The problem being the boss, it's all on me. Because I don't delegate.
Yes, if you had said so.
Yes.
One of these years I'll understand how to delegate. In the meantime, I shall balance my melon cow. So, with no highlights reel, I guess that moves us on to the Muse food.
Yes.
Yay, writing prompts. Alright, I gotta actually move around so I can actually get to them, so I can screen
Hey,
share.
the website's up.
Yay.
Bad.
We're professionals.
Are you?
We're professionals.
Can you confirm that it's up? Because I have not double checked. I already preloaded all the stuff for my.
Yeah, I just went to the website. It's up.
Already confirmed. I was. I checked beforehand. It's up.
I mean, our website never goes down.
Never.
Never.
What?
Do we want to do YouTube comment responses first before we roll into the next segment? Since we have
Probably.
one. All right.
Let's go for it.
With idea retention, I find that the ones I remember most are the ones that have vivid imagery, especially when songs inspire them. I always get frustrated when a conversation plays out perfectly, but I'm not able to write it down. that drives me nuts. You have no idea.
Same here.
So sometimes I just go through it over and over so that I'll remember it later. I try to do that and then I fail. Or I remember like 1/3 of the conversation I had in my head.
I'll try to do that myself, but then sometimes the conversation will change as the characters keep having it. It kind of loses that spur of the moment feel it had originally. Because your characters then have a chance to think about what they want to say instead of just being spontaneous.
Theoretically, I have my little field recorder in my bag at all times, so I could just talk into that if I were to remember.
9 out of 10 times, I just end up spinning it into the Skype conversation from the person that sent the comment in. Usually it's her fault.
Yeah, well, when the conversation is between two of your own characters in your own head, you can't do that.
I know.
They also say, I text kind of freeform to someone or put it on Notepad on my phone, then go back and write it in more of a prose form, or listen to the same song on repeat until I get it all back. I've been guilty of doing the song on infinite repeat.
Yes, same here.
I have, I think it's a 15-minute playlist at this point of just fairy tale theme remixes, because I can only listen to the same song so many times in a row before I go crazy. But if there's enough diversity in it, it's okay. And they actually had a question for us. While I'm here, slightly unrelated question. What's one of your pet peeves in writing? Words, phrases, cliches, stuff like that.
Well, for me, attempting to write lyrics, cliches are very common in songwriting. So I try very hard to avoid cliches as best I can. Partially to try to appear original. That's very difficult. It all depends on like what topic you're writing about. Like love songs, those are cliche as fuck. So
Always.
Trying to come up with an original, like something original to talk about in reference to love is very, very difficult.
Didn't South Park make fun of that at one point? Because I feel like Cartman created a band, only it was a Christian band, and then he used love songs and just replaced it with Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. Yep.
I can't remember the
band was called Faith Plus One.
Yeah, that was the band was Faith Plus One. I can't remember the name of the episode though.
I don't remember that offhand. Yeah.
I just remember when they were being interviewed, and it was like, it looks like you like Jesus. Well, yeah. No, like you really like Jesus. Well, don't you really like Jesus?
Quick question, Calvin.
Sure.
Anywhere that you publicly share your music?
Yes, SoundCloud. It should be in the notes.
Okay.
I personally, when writing, try to avoid excessive word repetition, especially with adjectives. Sometimes I'll notice I'll use the same adjectives or verbs or even names or pronouns a lot in a single paragraph, and I don't like that because it seems stale. I try to use synonyms a lot. That's a personal pet peeve there.
I know my biggest pet peeve, which makes me a complete hypocrite, is grammatical consistency and spelling of proper things.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the proofreading that I do is mainly for consistency and branding for my day job when they ask me to do stuff like that. Because we have a set style and you need to follow it. None of us follow it. Or at least not throughout an entire deck. I mean, that's why they have the buffer of having someone else look at it. But then I make the exact same mistakes in my own writing, and in a lot of the stuff that we do here. because I do not set up a buffer zone of someone else looking at the stuff before it goes up. Because why would I do that?
Like the difference between FC Writer and FC Writers with an S.
I'm just lazy and directly post everything that I write without really doing much to it. So
I always try to edit at least once.
Problem is, I try to edit, but I edit really, really quickly because I always feel like I'm in a rush. And that doesn't work.
I just don't like editing because I hate rereading my own work right after I've written it.
All right. Writing prompts are queued up. Let's get them on screen share. Hey, screen share, dang it. All right. As with every week, we provide writing prompts for our viewers and listeners in various formats. We like to give you 10 one-liners, 10 one-worders, and a combination of Rory's story cubes, because some people are a little more visual. And as always, we do not own and are not sponsored by Rory's story cubes. We just enjoy them. Although if we ever were to get sponsored by them, that would be fantastic.
Oh, yes.
I hope to at least meet the creator of those one of these days, just so we can say how much we appreciate his stuff.
We should at the very least send him an email.
And I still look forward to the expansion decks, or packs, for the app version, because I've been waiting on those for a long time. They're still in development. But yeah, writing prompts. We have them. Who would like to take on the one-liners for this week?
I'll do it.
Okay.
I got dibs this time.
I'll do the one-worders.
Okie dokie.
I'll take
I
one,
nominate
so
Calvin for the cubes.
already called it. Too late.
Okay, so let's get this show on the road. One-line writing prompts. Take what's in front of your face or go home. Next time you have the hangover, and I'll keep watch. I can't share when you don't show up. May your bare feet step on 1,000 Legos. That was bad. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy.
I would.
There is no time to explain, but there is time for coffee and a croissant. One of these days, I'm going to call you out on all the crazy plans that never came to fruition.
CJ.
Shush.
I feel that one was
What
directed to me.
What was that, Calvin?
I feel like that one was directed towards me. But then again, to be fair, that one might have been directed towards all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one was a directed dig at myself, but if you guys want to take it on, sure.
We all take responsibility.
Yes. Okay, where was it? Oh, yeah. This is one debt I'll enthusiastically repay. I have so much bad Roy Ed smut in my head right now. I hate you, CJ.
Not sorry.
I'm shaved, showered, and caffeinated. What more do you want from me?
Shouldn't that be a question?
Or an exclamation.
I read it how it came to my head. And
Well, better yet, an interrogation.
Yes.
well, we have one more. Don't encourage her. Yeah, there's the one-liners.
Come sit over there, you.
Crazy voices.
I'll give you crazy voices. All right, so the one-word writing prompts for the week are berry, crazy, guild, armory, seclusion, instant, eruption, drizzle, coordinate, defenestration.
Okay, so judging by Ed's face, we both had the same terrible ideas in our heads.
3 of those words definitely do go together in a not good way.
I don't know
And it
where you
helped
guys
that I
find
said
all
them
these
in this
innuendos.
voice.
I never put any innuendos into these things. I don't know why you always find so many.
The instant eruption ended with a drizzle.
I say nothing because
But was it coordinated?
I freaking have Roy's story posting right now.
Did the voice I use help any?
I wish I could make gifs out of Ed's reactions because they are pretty priceless.
I could use them. I don't know how to do it. You have my permission.
And now to Ollie Williams for the weather. I mean Calvin for the story cubes.
No, you have to do
Unfortunately,
it.
Unfortunately, I don't feel like yelling today.
I don't know how you could shout 9 cubes anyway.
Abacus! Alright, let's see what we got here. Yeah, we do have an abacus, or at least I think that is. We have a magnifying glass. We have a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle running off with a box full of stuff. We have a water fountain. We have what looks to be either a 6-pointed star or a sheriff's badge. An arrow indicating to turn right. We have a sheep. We have an airplane. And we have somebody knocking on a door or a plank, and apparently making significant noise by doing so.
I feel like that fountain is something that Calvin would have created in Second Life.
Honestly, that really does look like one of my Second Life fountains. I miss those days.
I want to know why all the story cubes on the right side are blue.
Because they're sad.
Aww. Aww.
I don't know, some of the some of the story cube sets are blue for whatever reason. Theoretically, it's a completely random compilation. But yes, those are your prompts for this week. And as always, if you happen to write a short story or flash fiction piece utilizing these prompts, we would love to read it. You can email us a copy of it, or just the URL where we can read it, via our email address, wordninja@fcwriters.com. And depending on the length, we may read it on a future episode of the podcast. And if it is not safe for work, we might work it into the not suitable for Word Ninjas podcast, since that one is completely uncensored, whereas this one we're just PG-13. All right.
Plushy shenanigans, shut up.
Okay, now it's time for everyone's favorite segment of the week, as my fan kicks into overdrive, because why not? It is time for goals. How did everyone's goals go last week? That well, huh?
I'll go because I don't have much and I didn't write anything last week anyway.
So, what did Ed's goals retroactively be?
Well, I actually was sort of productive this week. I finally finished Caught at the Office. So that's actually been posting up on my Tumblr for the last few days. I did start working on a certain somebody's commission stuff. I got Natsu done. That's about it. But I started working on it. But I also finally got Justin's deal with what he wants for him, so I can work on your other one too for you. My drafts have gotten out of control again, so I can't say that's an accomplishment. Although I've been writing to those, they just keep piling up still. And just trying not to generally like die. So I've been keeping up with my deal of creativity every day. Even if it's just a post to an RP, but it's been working.
My mute button is covered by a melon cow now. How about Will?
Okay. Let's see. Going down the list. Edit Clash of the Storms, or at least get back in editing Clash of the Storms, because I was working on it for a while. I did not do any of that this week. Work on My Roommate's a Stripper. I did work on that, so yes, I did work on it. Revive the full coverage Minecraft server. Sorta, kinda. It's up, and I can access it locally, but it is not set up for remote access, so I'm pretty much the only one that can get into it right now. And edit some podcasts for CJ. I did one, which is more than none. And hopefully it finally meets his criterion.
I still need to double check it. And how about the Calvins?
I can't say that last week was a complete bust, but it was pretty bad. Let's see. Work on websites. Nope. Continue on Doom edit of episode 35. Nope. Look at massive list of music ideas. Nope. Cry. I didn't even bother. Let's see. Update lyric sheets. Well, I did come up with some lyrics for new songs. Somehow they've magically stayed in my head this entire week, so hopefully I can actually take some time to write it down. Let's see. Cry. See the above mentioned comment from the previous cry. See, buy a new wireless router. Yes, I did. Holy shit. And it seems to be working pretty well so far.
Knock on all the wood.
Let's see. Cry. Didn't have to. Let's see. Talk to Will about D&D character creation. Did that. Attempt said character creation with Will. Done. It was actually pretty fun.
It was. We had some laughs.
Let's see. Find more time for reading. No. Find time for jogging. Well, I couldn't this week because I've been battling my allergies and have been having trouble breathing for most of this week. So that would be kind of a bad idea to like go running while you can't catch a full breath. Yeah. Let's see. Start working on the various online courses that I've purchased. No. Drinking. That's pretty much the only, or one of the few things this week I've found time for. And that's about it.
Yeah, I feel you on the allergies. Mine are finally kicking in, and I do not appreciate it.
Same here.
And Calvin, this probably would interest you. Oh, that's bright. And on the wrong side of the screen. And still bright. Come on. Come on, light levels. You can do it. You can do it.
Sugar maple.
It's mead with maple syrup in it.
Ooh.
Nice. That sounds wonderful.
I think that is going to be for Connecticon.
Ooh.
Nice.
But yeah, as for my goals from last week, week 2 of Camp NaNo. Considering how well week 1 went, how bad could have week 2 gone?
Can always go worse, you know that.
It progressed, but not at the levels I was hoping for various reasons that we will not go into. Meet with Erza and don't set Manhattan on fire. Well, we did set fire to our bellies because curry, but that was tasty. And Manhattan is still standing. Hooray!
What?
Sort out business cards and promo postcards. Whoops. I completely forgot about that one.
Reminded me of something I gotta put to my goals.
Research a quarter of the Book Expo America vendor list. I did 1/8 because we're down to 350 vendors to review. I think I've gotten the primary ones that I really want to hit, and then the rest are, if it happens to work out, that'll be fantastic. But I'm still going to try and whittle that down. It's an ongoing process. And we still have a month. And then determine logistics of secret event of secretness for location, time, and budget. I figured out the logistics, and after how last week really went, I can pretty much say that the secret event of secretness is not going to be happening this year because of other secret events of secretness that will happen next year. So, yay.
Aww.
I have some people I'm networking with that we may be able to pull it off, but not to the level that I was expecting it to be. But we'll figure it out.
Yes.
I want that as a gift. That little me that you just did perfect.
All right. As for next week's goals, well, fudge monkeys. It's week 3 of Camp NaNo, not week 2. I should update that. At this point, whatever progress I can make on my book is going to be considered a success in my mind because everything else is getting in the way to the point where I can't even pretend to feel bad about not doing it. And then there is this is going to be an ongoing process for basically the rest of the year, but coordinate the latest crazy, insane, terrifying project of Doom. You have no idea. Those two do.
Oh, I know.
Yes.
And that really...
Actually, I think you need to add a few more O's to Doom there for it to really be accurate.
Yeah, about 50 more O's, but yeah. And then, maybe think about pondering upon possibly, maybe perhaps doing inventory of all the stuff I have for conventions. Because with Connecticon creeping closer, I really do need to figure out just what we have and what we need to pull together so we can sell stuff.
Yeah, you really need a better marketing manager.
I have a feeling that I'm going to have to send out an SOS to people in my area to help do button cutting and pressing and stuff like that and make sure that I have everything, but it's still far enough away that I'm not panicking too much yet.
Well, if there is enough advance notice, we might be able to make a trip out.
Mm-hmm.
Now we don't have to worry about work schedules.
Yeah. We make our own work schedules.
It is slowly getting to the point where I care so little about travel logistics, I would probably just throw everything in my car and come up for a weekend.
Well, that works
I'm
too.
not against that either. I can draw at the same time. And just press a whole bunch of them then.
We can record it and have another not safe, not suitable for it and just podcast.
Yes!
We do need more content for that. I do not want the next 5 episodes to just be me shouting at my recorder in the car while I'm going to work.
But they're so entertaining!
Yeah, I sent you one you can use, and I have the stuff to make Justin's. He did send me his audio.
All right, that covers this month. But we have next month until Connecticon, and however long it takes us to edit that stuff.
Do you want me to take recordings of me drawing and cursing and sending them to you?
If you want.
I mean, my live stream pretty much does that, but I'll be more than happy to put it there instead.
All right. What
I'm
other
told I say
games
some
are people
interesting things
doing?
while playing certain video games.
What are your various goals for the week, peoples?
Let's see. I'll go through mine now. Finish and release the next chapter of Roommate by the end of the 15th. Sweet mercy, that's only 2 days away, and I'm nowhere near done. Work on editing Clash of the Storms. Maybe. Editing more audio files for CJ.
Yay.
Yay. I do still have the epic episode of Doom. Oh yeah, CJ, I still have the epic episode of Doom, so.
Nice.
Commissions? Booklets? Maybe? Maybe. And find time to finish Act 5 in Diablo 3. Oh, glob, those levels are huge.
I played for about 3.5 hours last night and caught up to where you said you were.
Yeah, it takes about 3 hours just to get through the marshlands.
I went through some of the random dungeons.
There were a lot, weren't there?
I went through the wrong ones just for the fun of it, but there were a lot of like little random dungeons that were like the random generated ones. Like,
I skipped a lot of them because there were so many.
And I know there were achievements for getting all of them eventually, but
That's what replaying is for.
Yeah.
They were just I would have gone through if I didn't have to like be somewhere. And I was just looking for the next freaking waypoint. I also don't appreciate that they put waypoints right outside of your home base. Did you notice that? Twice they did that to me. As soon as I left that little center home base area, there was a waypoint right outside the door. Like, why do I need a waypoint here? The door is here. It's 2 feet away. This is the worst place for a waypoint.
I don't know. Maybe you have my sense of direction sometimes.
But yeah, I may possibly try to finish Act 5 this week if I find the time, aside from writing and editing. This is the smaller one. He doesn't want to stay.
You still have to come up with a name to satisfy a certain...
This is the one that the name was about. Rupert.
Call him Rupert.
His name is Rupert.
You're not going to name him after your character.
No, his name is Rupert.
The little one can be Aiden.
The big one should be Aiden, huh?
That's why I asked.
Buzzing.
The big one can be Aiden and the medium-sized one can be Rupert. Aiden and Rupert.
Before we end up in Not Suitable for Word Ninjas podcast territory, Ed, what are your goals for next week?
You sure you want to do this with that intro?
Give us the PG-13 version.
Actually, all of mine are PG this week.
For now.
I already finished the NSFW one.
Until a new idea pops in his head.
Push! Okay, so, of course, my ongoing one-of-one creative thing every day. Which I actually am pretty good at doing. Get my RP drafts below 50, and I mean that for, like, all of my characters. It's not gonna happen. I know it, but hey, gotta try. I don't want more than 50 total drafts to my name. Finished trying to hash out a certain boss man's art commission. because I still got to get this done. And maybe try to drum up a bit more business for things that, at least to get my art views back. Because I need, yeah. I am taking commissions, by the way. So more Word Ninja writer's blocks. These delightful little things that, yes.
And we need more than one.
Yeah, we need more than prototype. I have a whole bunch cut out. I just have to sew them. And I have to work on the badges that I want to make for us for Kineticon, and my little business cardy things, and I need more art for my portfolio, and I just have a whole bunch of CTCon prep stuff to do myself. So I'm going to try and start working on that more. See? All PG.
I'm still muted.
Yes,
You
yes, you are.
I didn't hear a thing.
All right. It is Calvin's turn if he is ready to talk about goals.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Or am I? Yes, okay. My list is as follows. First and foremost, tell my allergies to get stuffed. Next on the list is to go jogging. That all depends on whether or not my allergies comply. The continued Doom edit of episode 35. Websiting. Lyric notations. Finally get the lyrics in my head down onto paper or some sort of digital format. Look at least one of the online courses that I've purchased. Figure out what to do about the mess in my room. And talk to the CJ about business cards to see if I can be of any help with those.
I would have inserted diabolical laughter, but I was still muted.
So yeah, that's it for me.
It should be a busy week for all of us.
Mm.
With or without the pollen.
It's going to be a busy night for me.
Because of pollen or because of shenanigans? Or both?
Because of pollen and websiting.
Fun. Alright, with that, it is time to talk about events. There are way too many happening this year. For next month, there is MomoCon in Atlanta, Georgia, on Memorial Day weekend. Myself and our affiliate, Fairy Tale Podcast, will be attending. Neither of us managed to net a booth, panels, or... Actually, they have press badges. I do not. But it is a ridiculously fun convention that people should definitely check out if they're in the area. Because they're basically doubling in size this year. Last year it was one hotel. Now they're doing two, with a gigantic causeway connecting the two. You got Mike Rice, who is a writer for The Simpsons, and he co-created The Critic. That's pretty cool. I wouldn't mind talking to him about that, because The Critic was an awesome show.
A little bizarre, but yeah.
I feel it was very...
Considering our collective tastes, wasn't that?
Yeah.
And also there's Matthew McFarland, or Black Hat Matt, who does a lot of writing for RPGs, mainly for White Wolf Game Studios, which is an entirely different style within itself, which is also very cool. And there's a ridiculous amount of other guests and special speakers and events and photo shoots, autographings, everything. It's basically as much fun as Dragon Con would be, except a little more family-friendly, shall we say. Dragon Con is not even remotely family-friendly, so... They are the not suitable for Word Ninjas equivalent. and then some. And then the weekend after MomoCon is Book Expo America, where
Dun,
Calvin
dun,
and I will be
dun.
flailing around like headless chickens at the Javits Center. They have a ridiculous amount of author autograph opportunities going on, and for regular consumers, they've kind of changed it up this year. It is now called BookCon. You don't get to see the full spread show with all of the vendors because that's mostly for like trade and press and stuff, but the consumer side is still pretty big considering that Javits Center is huge. And it's comparatively cost effective to go as a consumer compared to as a business. So if you happen to be in the New York area, you should definitely check that out. Links to the vendors and author autograph opportunities are in our show notes on the website if you want to check out who's going to be there. And it's also an opportunity if you want to kind of get a sneak peek as to what's being published this year. There are a lot of advanced release copies being shown there and autographed, and you can get some. I need to figure out what the NDAs are on some of that, because granted, it's going to take us forever to read and review them, but I want to read and review them. So we'll have to figure out the logistics for that. And of course, Connecticon is in July, but is still far enough away that I don't really want to pimp it out every freaking weekend.
But it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Especially if the guest list has anything to say about it.
Yeah, I think after Book Expo America wraps up, we're just going to go nuts and promote the hell out of it. But until then, if you want to know where ourselves and any of our affiliates happen to be going or attending this year, go to the show notes for the episode, fcwriters.com, under the Word Ninjas podcast page. It's all there. All the links to their websites are there, so you can check out the full details. And I'm kind of changing things up a little bit for the Brought to You By section. Does anyone have a die or dice handy?
Of course. What do you need?
D6, ideally.
I got it.
I have the ones that CJ gave me. Gimme.
I has the 6.
I got it.
But I got it already.
Fine, go ahead.
You can do it. I just want to be.
All I really need is a number between 1 and 6.
6.
Fuck. That's technically I needed one between 1 and 5, so 6 is
Should have let me roll it.
Okay, fine. 2.
2. What's number 2 on the list? We are brought to you by this week. The Fairy Tale Podcast. We are partnered with the Fairy Tale Podcast. They're a weekly live stream hosted on Monday nights at around 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can check out their YouTube channel for manga and fanfic dubs, cosplay reviews, and more. They also do a lot of interviews with people in like at Funimation and other studios and whatnot. So you can check them out for that. We actually have the full list of who we are brought to you by in the show notes. So if you really want to see how this show is compiled and who brings it to you each week, check out the show notes for the full details. I kind of just want to roll a dice every week to see which number we get, and then I audibly promote that one on the show.
That works for me.
So I guess theoretically we kind of need a 6th one at some point so that we don't have to keep re-rolling.
Yeah, because it'll make a 5-sided die.
We'll work on that.
I might be able to accommodate this somehow. Trying to figure out a way for a 5-sided die.
Well, I was just thinking of figuring out a 6th sponsor.
That works too.
But if you viewers and listeners out there on the intertubes were entertained in any way, shape, or form by our shenanigans, you can show your appreciation very easily by just subscribing to our YouTube channel. You can watch our previous episodes. Pretty much every episode we've had is up. There's only 2 that are missing for technical reasons. Uh, it just happens every once in a while. Google Hangouts is not infallible as much as we wish it could be. But, I mean, it happens. 38 out of 40 episodes is pretty good for a track record, I feel like. And you can also, ideally, click that thumbs up button on our videos to show that you enjoyed it. I mean, you could click the thumbs down button, but really, were we that bad? Did we disappoint you that much that you couldn't just click the thumbs up button instead? Really? I mean, the fox will cry if you hit the thumbs
I
down
don't
button.
want Aiden to cry.
And Melon Cow will just swear at you, and I don't think you want that either. So.
And you don't want to know what the lol what pair will do to you.
Yeah, don't mess with the pair.
I keep the Automel bits to myself.
You don't want to know.
And while we are primarily privately funded, you are more than welcome to actually donate to fund our various endeavors. To do so, it's very easy. You can just go to fcwriters.com, the Word Ninjas Live page, and there is a convenient PayPal donation link right up top. Now, if you do happen to donate to us, not only will we be forever grateful, but you get something back in return, because we like you people just that much. If you were to donate, say, $1, you would get a shout out on a future episode of this podcast. So you could promote your own site, social media account, your own podcast, or you can just say hello. We do like people saying hello to us. We are friendly, we swear. That sounded better in my head.
Only bite if asked. There.
If you were to say donate $5, you can ask a talkie question, what if scenario, provide an author, publisher, YouTube channel, or a website to highlight on a future episode of this show. So if there's something that you want us to talk about or promote, by all means, $5 will get us talking. Now, if you were to go crazy and say donate $10, you would sponsor an entire episode and get to join us live, presuming that you have the webcam, audio, and internet capabilities to do so.
And parental consent if under the age of 18.
Yes, if you are a minor, we do need parental consent because legalities. We are all over the age of 18, even if we don't act like it. Actually, we rarely act like it.
Growing up doesn't mean becoming an adult.
I may grow old, but I refuse to grow up.
Exactly. Just the bunch.
Almost time to wrap things up, but is there another comment on the YouTube channel, perhaps? If this thing will load it, perhaps. Wait for it. Wait for it. Load faster, please. Come on, you can do it. I believe in you. Preferably without making too much noise.
I've got it. Let's see, from about a minute ago. It says, don't you manipulate me with that fox, but I already clicked the thumbs up. Why would you do this to me?
Because Aiden is manipulative.
But you made him happy. See, now he's dancing.
Melon Cow is too tired to dance. Alright, unless anyone has some last-minute commentary, I think it's about time we wrap up this ridiculousness. 3, 2, 1, too late. We're done. Alright.
Sorry,
So, where can people find all of us crazy peoples on the internets? I was going to roll down the list, but Calvin disappeared. So, Ed, you're up.
Okay. The best place to find me, the most consistent place to find me, is on my Ed blog on Tumblr, which is thefullmetaledwardellrick.tumblr.com. There's no spaces, no craziness, just the string of words. I do have a butt ton of other side blogs, but you can get to them from there, so that's probably the best direction for you. I was trying to find my live stream channel, but I can't seem to do that right now, so we'll skip that. And I do have a DeviantArt. It's ladymidnight.deviantart.com. Wow, I can't talk all of a sudden. I post most of my art there. I don't really interact too much there, though. I will answer comments and things like that, but that's about it. And I do have a couple of Twitters, but I haven't touched them in, God, at least 6 months. So if you find them, it's Midnight Alchemist or Ed the Alchemist, but there's no new content there ever. But I will get messages if you leave them there, because my phone is a wonderful device. Oh, thank you, Punky. I do have a live stream, so although my computer hasn't been cooperating much lately, but it's www.livestream.com/edspace. And every once in a while you can catch me swearing and drawing, mostly swearing.
In no particular order.
In no particular order. Sometimes I'm singing too, because I will play music while I'm drawing. But yeah, you can but usually even when I have that up and running, you will see links on my Tumblr page directly to it. And of course, if you are also on my Tumblr page, you will notice that I am taking art commissions. If I get commissions, I usually tend to do them on the live stream, so you give me something to draw, and I will do more live streams.
I'm not allowed to ask you to draw anything anymore.
No,
My
not.
privileges have been revoked.
No, you are not. At least not with that many faces in it.
I've been blacklisted.
You have. I love you to death, but don't ask me to do anything like this ever again.
I need you to draw every Simpsons character ever on one piece of paper.
I cannot give you the thing I want to do because this is not the NSFW podcast.
Yeah, just waited another 7 minutes or so once we're off air, and then I'm sure you'll let loose. Until then, it's Will's turn.
My turn. Let's see. You can find my personal Tumblr at darkhom.tumblr.com. It's darkhom.tumblr.com. It is a not safe for work blog. It's my personal blog, so I blog and post whatever I want. I also have a writing Tumblr at myroommatesastripper.tumblr.com. That's all one word. It's not safe for work, and it contains the recent chapters and some behind-the-scenes stuff and fan art stuff related to My Roommate's a Stripper. I never really use my Twitter, but it's at Will Granville, and I have a Sofurry at darkhome.sofurry.com. The website itself is typically a not safe for work website, but you need an account to view adult material, so if you just go there without an account, you can only view things that are marked for general audiences.
And how about the Calvin?
Okay. My personal website and portfolio is calvin.cwillia.ms. You can also find me over at the music magazine Riffraff, which is riffraff.net, riffraf.net. Let's see what else. We've got Twitter and Instagram. You can find me there at ccwii. You can find me on Tumblr at instacal.tumblr.com. And on SoundCloud, if you want to check out some of my music, it's soundcloud.com/cdubny.
And I highly recommend checking out that SoundCloud page because I already have all of that music, and I think a few others that are not available to the public.
Yeah, you're the only one that has the complete collection.
Insert diabolical laughter here. Alright, as for myself, you can check out my zombified Twitter handle, silver_wolf85. Sometimes I resurrect it for a little while, but not as much as I used to. Seems like none of us really use Twitter as much as we used to, except for maybe Calvin.
I hate the 140 character limit. I talk to
I love the
Hard to end it with 140 characters.
You can also track me down on the Fairy Tale Podcast as Makarov. Again, Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, over on their YouTube channel. Links in the show notes, or just search Fairy Tale Podcast. It'll pop up. For everything full coverage writers centric, our website is fcwriters.com. For social media, we're over on Tumblr, fcwordninja.tumblr.com. Facebook, we have facebook.com/fullcoveragewriters. Our literary Twitter handle, which is a little more active, is at fcwordninja. And for anything and everything else, you can just email us over at wordninja@fcwriters.com. And with that, we are going to wrap up episode 40 of Word Ninjas Live. You cannot tune in next week because we're not having a show next week.
Enjoy your holiday.
Yes.
Woot woot.
Yeah, next week is Zombie Jesus Day, so we're going to be a little distracted.
And may the Easter Bunny be kind, because I've heard he can be quite the attitude-ridden in the butt.
So yeah, we'll see you all in 2 weeks. So
Remember, Jesus died in that plane crash for your sins. Or the Easter Bunny, that's what it was. The Easter Bunny died in that plane crash for your sins.
So yeah, enjoy some Cadbury eggs in his honor. Lots of them.
Yes.
Yes.
all right, peace out, guys and gals, and everyone in between. Sometimes with 85 appended to it. But Silver Wolf is, by definition, a wolf who just happens to be silver in color. Silver has regularly been personified, at least to me, as just a little wolf pup. Rarely is it an adult, because it never acts like one. So, but Silver provides me with ideas, helps tie plot strings together sometimes. Usually doesn't mind too much when I get distracted by shiny baubles. Half the time, Silver gets distracted by shiny baubles, so we're even. But Silver has also been responsible for the whole slash and burn multiverse, and for regularly poking me to actually get back to that at some point, which I still need to do one of these years. If I ever do finish a fantasy series, it is going to be that one. Or so help me. Yeah, I've had Silver around for as long as I can remember. And thankfully, Silver tends to be pretty useful with idea gathering and eureka moments when I'm trying to figure out how to tie various characters or plot strings together. Actually, Silver gave me the idea for the Slash and Burn universe, again, to finally figure out how do I tie the 4 different ideas I have together. And it was one of those moments where I actually had to stop for like a good 5 minutes and basically think, well, crap, now I have to write it that way. Good afternoon, ladies and menfolk. Welcome to episode 40 of Word Ninjas Live. we're coming to you today with plushies, because it's episode 40. We can do what we want.
I have no question.
And I am your instigator of literary insanity, Charles, and joining me today is my co-host, Will. Hello! And his fox.
I'm over here somewhere.
And Ed is lurking off to the side, probably doing something diabolical.
As usual.
It may most likely involve alchemy.
Probably.
The Philosopher's Stone is not required.
I would hope not. That would be messy. The rest of our crew are off doing other diabolical machinations during this nice weather. Either that, or they have been completely destroyed by all of the impending pollen of doom. Or some combination thereof. It's spring. That's how it goes. But despite that, we are still going to have an episode before our week off. Because next weekend is Easter, and I don't want to have a show. So we're going to have a show this week. And that means talking points. We actually have some this week.
Actually have 3 this week.
Yay. Alright, talkie point number 1 for episode 40 is, for those of us with specific or personified muse or muses, how did we come about finding them? Or
Variety of different races and classes and personalities and whatnot. I think the biggest use of him was during my role-playing days on Gaia Online, where he was a fallen angel of sorts, with where I went after kind of an anti-hero personality. But right now he's just an internet handle name, but the muse is still there somewhere, waiting for his opportunity to properly be released. These days I don't usually actually use him. Like, I never use the name Darkholme in World of Warcraft, and I don't think I'm going to in playing Elder Scrolls Online. But should a proper situation come up, I'll probably get used again. Either that, or it'll just be my internet handle from now on. Who knows? And that's pretty much all I've got for muses. Like I said, I could go on potentially for other characters from my roommate's a stripper, but I don't think it's that necessary, as they're not that active in my mind as
they're
Max
more
did.
inspirations rather than full fleshed out muses at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, they crop up now and then more to tell me about themselves than they do to actually affect my life. So, and I guess it is what it is.
Well, as for Melon Cow, I mean, myself, my main muse and kind of my online persona that I've had for a good while now is Silver Wolf. How did they find us? Basically, why do we have the muses that we do? And for those of you watching, post in the YouTube comments, what is or are your muses, and how did you find them, while we ramble on.
I'm trying to get my computer.
Try to explain the insanity in our own minds.
Hmm.
I said try to explain.
No guarantees.
Speed.
Would you like to kick this one off, or shall I? Or shall we flip a coin?
We flip a 6-sided die.
If you have one handy.
1 through 6 you go. 7 through 12.
Wait a minute.
I don't mind going first for this one. Let's see. I could technically go on for most of the characters from My Roommate's a Stripper, but I think I'm going to go to the big two, Aiden and Maxine. And I am lumping them together because they came into creation basically at the same time. I came up with the idea for them while bored in one of my classes in college, which happened a lot in college. And at the time, I created these two unnamed characters, a male fox and a female skunk. And the male fox is basically supposed to be questioning his sexuality, while the skunk was quite comfortable with her sexuality and having sex with people she considered friends. And they were living together in an apartment for unspecified reasons. And it was basically just a silly excuse to write smut while I was bored in class. But eventually I started working out a plot around them, developing their characters, their backgrounds, and Max and Aiden were born. And their personalities became pretty rich, pretty solid, and now I'm stuck with them. And they like to remind me of this on a daily basis in my mind.
There's no escape.
There is no escape. So, while several of the characters in Roommate do have some decent voices that crop up in my head from time to time, Aiden and especially Max are the two big ones. They like to pop up for a wide variety of reasons. And they have developed into solid characters with, excuse me, pretty serious backgrounds and personalities. All because I was bored in class. Excuse me. Ah, oh no. Fox, you fell. Come back up, little fox. Come here. Stay on my shoulder. Stay. Sit. Behave. Another one I pointed out in the show notes is Darkholm. The user handle I go by. It's originally a Muse character. Not currently actively using him for anything, but he's been around since my days of playing Vanilla EverQuest. Which,
Wow.
if you're familiar with Vanilla EverQuest, you know that that was a long time ago. It was like, what, mid-1990s, I think?
Somewhere around then.
Somewhere around there. Yeah, I created a human paladin, and I named him Darkholm. Since then, I basically took the name with me and would use it on various internet places whenever, especially if there was a fantasy setting that I could rely on, and the character I created would be named Darkholm. Took on a wide